Hello everyone, welcome back to Animesh Verma Delivery Excellence YouTube channel. In our previous videos, we discussed high-level design and low-level design in SDLC as per the V model. Today's topic is very important. What is next phase after low-level design in SDLC as per the V model? We will cover which phase comes after LLD, how it fits in the V model, roles and responsibilities, deliverables, real world examples. So folks, let's begin. So let's have a quick revision where we are in V model. So in V model of SDLC, left side, as I told you in my previous videos, the left side is an SDLC top-down approach and the right side is the bottom-up SDLC software test lifecycle approach. Where requirement analysis in the left side, it comes again with the system design, and third is the low-level design, that is LLD. Now, after low-level design, we reach the bottom of the V as per the V model. Now, this is where actual development starts. So that's what I clearly mentioned in my previous videos, guys, that make sure that the early rise of the defects has to be taken care of, right? Every part is getting reviewed and the filtered out output should reach to the coding phase or the implementation phase of the coding, right? That is the base for back to basics and how well the quality of the code can be maintained for the next level of deliverables. Now, the implementation phase, also called as coding phase or development phase. Now, this phase of low-level design documents into the working source code. Now, in this, where we can discuss that the left side is a low-level design and the right side is a unit testing, which maps parallelly, and the coding phase meets with the unit testing execution. Nowadays, when the DevOps and Agile mode is already there in the picture, most of the things are happening in a very fast phase, and the automation is the key area. But as I told you guys, and you might know this, that we have to be very sure that the code should not have major changes whenever it is getting deployed. Because if there are any changes to the, and this is very important point, please note down that frequent changes in the code can lead to the big and very unhealthy escalations with the client, because you don't get a chance to do an impact analysis, you don't get a chance to go with the high level of entire regression. And the key of regression or of the automation is that there should not be any high critical defects or even medium defects which can cause a real impact on the other modules because they are interacted with each other. So if there is any interaction between each module and you are just changing a part of it without even checking the overall interfaces, then the overall delivery of the code, whenever it is getting phased out to the next level, this will create a big escalation and might lead to a business loss also. Because if the client is critical about that, you have to be very sure. So nothing to be worried about. Precaution is better than cure, or early phases detection is also very important, which I discussed earlier in the last video clearly regarding sonar implementations or as a static code analyzer at early phase, getting it reviewed at the level, phasing out with each and every quality gates. If that has already been done, then the filtered out version, whenever we move to the coding phase, it will give the better picture. I hope this is clear. Let us move to the next level, and if you guys feel any questions to be asked, please pinpoint me or comment in the comment section. You can ask me the questions. I'll be very happy to answer all your queries. It might help you out for the better future perspectives. Thank you so much. Now guys, step-by-step activities of the code development is developer write the code based on the LLD documents, coding standards, architecture guidelines. Example of the LLD says that creative login service, maybe if it is a web application, valid username and a password called database layer. This is a very simple layer I'm telling you to make it very simplified format, right? So you can understand you need to develop a web page which has certain functionality in it, and the most important thing is you should be able to log into the services. You can use your user ID password as per the guidelines which is provided, and then the respective data which is important to have interaction between them, that has to be very, very clear, so that you move to the next landing page of the particular application and the flows goes in a very smooth way, right? Well, the developer implements the classes, methods, APIs, and database queries. These are very important and are very basics of it. Programming languages, as you know, maybe it can be Java, Spring Boot, Python, .NET, JavaScript, React, SQL, or any sort of database whichever you need. Maybe that MongoDB can come into the picture, or can come into the picture. Python is nowadays a very hot cake which can also be the part of it. Now, coding standards, which is also very important, is the naming conventions. Many people get confused about this naming convention and maintaining a uniformity between the naming conventions. It's very important to maintain the naming conventions in a very, very uniform way whenever you are deploying any code, because that will help you to figure out the defects and give you the real root cause analysis for any of the defects which cause a particular stopper for the next level, right? Any of the defects, right? So be very, very clear that there should be very clear communication and a real communication and the feedback communication. If you are having daily stand-up calls, if it is in the agile mode, then during that stand-up call you should be very ready what to be done, what has to be completed, what is already completed. Maybe a Kanban Scrum calls, I'm just trying to figure it out and telling you that bottom line is have a very clear communication, crisp and clear communication, what exactly is needed and where we are heading, right? So I'll just come to a very important factor, change request, then your or enhancement, which is very important. These are the two things. I'll be covering it within this call, within this session itself, right? Because those are very important factors. Now, unit testing. I think unit testing, everybody knows that individual modules are tested, the smallest testable components, which is very important. Function, then you can define the method, which directly maps with the low-level design. Now, what performs the unit? Who performs the unit testing? See, unit testing nowadays is very, very simple, that it is parallelly been done. Maybe JUnit, JMeter for the JavaScript or the Java language, it is being utilized, right? Or it is basically, nowadays, earlier only the developer used to do the unit testing, but now that it's a team. We don't say the developer or a tester is a different team. No, we are working as a team, right? So we have to be very clear what has to be said. Developer or the tester should know the coding knowledge very clear, because the automation is a key area. So without knowing the basics of coding, you cannot survive in this current era of the entire IT industry, right? So that is very, very important. Maybe some tools might be used in JUnit, TestNG, NUnit, PyTest, or Mockito. So these are simple examples. Now I'll just say one example, right? What LLD says. Methods should return error for invalid login. Definitely, it's a very simple thing. Unit test verifies correct output, correct explanation, boundary conditions. See guys, these are very, very basic things which I'm dealing with. And why I'm dealing with the basics The basics are more important. Nowadays, we are talking very much regarding the automation tool or, the artificial intelligence, and too many things are there. Those are very important. Those are the hygiene of this industry. But if you are not having a base core things very clear to you regarding this very small minute details, it will really have a big implementations at the last or later phase. And client today's era, guys, to be honest, they are very very quick, right? So keep it as simple as possible. Come to the basics, and that is the main goal why I'm creating such type of videos, because I'm coming out with my experiences of more than 20 plus years, whatever I have faced in this IT industry, right? So the core of, I'm not going that in detail of of why this is happening, why not happening. Situations to situations may prevail, but the basic is, if your fundamentals are very clear, then everything will be very easy for you, and that is the core for you. Keep your fundamentals very clear. Clear means clear, no ifs and no buts. There is only two radio buttons, yes or no, no conditional format. Okay. Now, deliverable phase of coding, maybe it's a source code or unit test cases, unit test results, code coverage reports or build packages. So all these things are important. And more or less, whenever these things happen, whenever the code is getting pushed or pulled, pushing and pulling of the code in terms of the AWS or Azure, right? As I discussed in the last video itself, we have to maintain the uniformity, that naming conventions, and since it is mandate that you are working in a very uniform way and a very what you can say, it's a transparent way, right? Both the client and the vendor both are on the same page in terms of reporting system or the coding platforms, anything, if you're running any tools, right? But make sure that your base format of the source code has to be very clear. See, guys, here I just want to I'll let me finish first, and then I'll come to the important factors. See, the code has to be very clean. It usually be defects has to be fixed, perform unit testing, and all those things. See, these things are important, right? And well, after low level design and the implementations, the bottom of the V model gets completed in terms of the SDLC. Now, guys, what I'm telling you is to the at a practical ground, right? At a text level or at a cookbook level, it looks very easy. But whenever you are implementing on the real aspects, a lot of hidden things comes into the picture. Maybe the dependency on several types of vendors, several types of services, and the knowledge gaps. There might be cases that you have in your agile mode that you are having a sprint for 5 days, but maybe 2 of your resources are not well. Then there is a backlog which is getting generated for the other 3 team members. The entire backlog of the rest 2 will also be an added burden. So be very clear in the communication with the client, what is the reason, why it has been taken care of. So that is the reason I'm telling you the risks are very high whenever, and to minimize those risks, you have to be very clear what can be done, what not can be done. So what's the reason for that? Whenever you do a proper planning at the initial level, make the planning as 25% more than the total number of estimates which has been created. This will really help you to have, as a backlog and as a backup in terms of entire budgeting, in terms of resource handling, and handling them very smartly. Maybe if you are having any automation tool coming into the picture, the automation tool has to be configured in such a way that it can handle the case for the rest 2 resources if it is possible, so that overall, the complexity, or you can say about the overall productivity of or you can say the efficiency of the entire phase will be really very high, because input and output, I'm just keeping it very simple, right? The efficiency should be high, the sprint commitment index will be good, the velocity will be very good. So in all these parameters, it will be easy whenever you derive to the certain matrices which we create, right, to check out the entire code quality and deliverables. So guys, make sure that the smallest bit of things whatever you are doing has to be cross-verified very clearly, rather than jumping to something conclusion where you are having a lot of dependency on the third party services or any third party vendor. If you are working in any maintenance projects or some change request which has come across from the client side, right, things are little easier whenever you are having a standalone projects. But if you are working on a maintenance project or in a change request, just for the sake of 3 weeks or 4 weeks, you have to be very clear what are you going to change, because you do not know the legacy code which is not delivered to you from the client. So if the source code is not clear to you and you code something which is not at all matching with the particular legacy applications, then it will create to a great escalations. So make sure the scoping area, which I said in the very first video, if you could go and watch my first video, I emphasize very clearly on the scope. It looks very simple. That's what I'm telling you. Coming to the basics, keep the scope very clear. Do I need to do this? Do I need to do this database? Do I have an ETL processes? If the ETL processes are there, do I have Amnesia or any tools which are in fact getting in terms of all the deliverables? Are we having any implementations on each of the things? If not, then raise the red flag and send it to all the respective stakeholders. So thank you so much all. This is what I wanted to discuss in this particular video, right? So keep learning, keep delivering excellence, convert this into the a very the phase which can help you to deliver the best. And write me in the comments where whatever questions or queries you have, so that those things can be clarified. Thanking you. This is Animesh Verma signing off from Animesh Verma Delivery Excellence channel. Thank you. Good night.